4 wins in a season, brutal beatdowns, and ranking last in the Pac-12. Those are the stat lines that the Colorado Buffaloes compiled in 2023. But that didn't seem to matter, since the Buffaloes might have just been the most exciting team to watch this year. Let's explore why. After a horrid 1-win season in 2022, Colorado needed a change. Thankfully, a man was available to turn the program around, but only on his own terms. Coach Prime. Deion Sanders, aka Primetime, is one of the flashiest athletes America has seen. In 1989, Sanders was drafted above professional baseball and professional football, something only few players can say they did. Neon Deion was so athletic that he is considered the best cornerback of all time with the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL history. He even played in an NFL game, dressed out, and flew to play in the World Series on the same day. It is no doubt that Primetime was a legend, so it was obviously a big deal when he decided to coach at Colorado in 2023. Prior to this, Deion coached his sons Shadir and Shiloh Sanders at a small college named Jackson State. But once arriving in Boulder, Coach Prime made some immediate huge changes to the program. He would put together an almost entirely new roster and new coaches, including a couple guys from Jackson State that became instant celebrities in Boulder. Shiloh Sanders, the son who was a hard-hitting safety. Shadir Sanders, the high prospect QB who's a guaranteed first-round pick. And Travis Hunter, an athlete similar to Coach Prime that plays both cornerback and wide receiver. Even though a lot of controversy stirred up when Deion Sanders replaced most of the Colorado roster, you have to remember that they went 1-11 last year. And 2023 wouldn't be any easier. The Buffaloes would have an incredibly tough schedule, starting off with a road game at the number 17 seed TCU in Week 1. TCU were the defending finalists last year, and were heavy favorites against Colorado. Over 7 million tuned in Saturday to watch how Coach Prime would start his FBS coaching career. Would the team win in a shocker or get blown out?
Second down and 10. Sanders, here's a little screen, and they find Edwards. He breaks it back with running room on the move. Edwards down the sideline. Dylan Edwards, touchdown. Finds the completion behind him. Horn, 8 catches, 76 yards. Sanders goes deep once again. This time it's caught.
Shadir Sanders would ball out against the Horned Frogs and throw for 510 yards and 4 touchdowns in a 45-42 thriller. TCU left the game shocked as Colorado scored the go-ahead touchdown, and this sent TCU out of the top 25. Into the top 25 came Deion's team, who ranked 22 in their next game against Nebraska. And in their first home game, the Buffaloes didn't disappoint, dominating Nebraska in a 36-14 win. 8.73 million people tuned in for that game, and that number went up to 9.3 million in their rivalry game in Week 3. The Rocky Mountain Showdown, Colorado versus Colorado State. Sanders got himself in a beef with the Rams head coach before the game. He disrespected Deion for wearing sunglasses and a hat when talking to other adults. These comments heated up the rivalry even more, and early in the game, Colorado and Colorado State were dead even. But then the Rams started pulling away. Sloppy turnovers and bad defense would get Colorado State up by double digits before the Buffaloes miraculously stormed back. Shadir would tie the game, send it to overtime, and win it 43-35. The fans stormed the field as the Buffaloes tripled their wins last season in just Week 3. How did people explain this Cinderella run? From the worst Power 5 program to number 19 in the nation? Well, people started calling it the Deion effect. But in Week 4, Colorado would sure need a lot of Deion's effect to win this one. Colorado had to go on the road to a no-nonsense Oregon Ducks team ranked 10th in the nation. Oregon's coach made a speech before the game, saying Colorado was fighting for clicks while they were fighting for wins. And it seemed true once the game got going. Oregon scored on the first drive and wouldn't stop there, blowing out the Buffaloes. Colorado's offense couldn't get anything going and were basically shut out the entire game. Halftime score, 35-zip. Over 10 million people tuned in to see Colorado become frauds as they were smoked 42-6. When it seemed like the Buffaloes couldn't compete with the big dogs, next up on the schedule was number 8, USC, led by Caleb Williams. Here, the Buffaloes once again got crushed in the first half. They would make a rally at the end, but the effort ultimately fell short. Unfortunately, Colorado's season would just go downhill from there. Although they did beat Arizona State, they would blow a 29-0 lead at home to Stanford, yeah, the smart school. Well, the Cardinal made a great comeback on Friday to stun Colorado in overtime. Well, as embarrassing as that was, at least the games they played were exciting, if anything. Never mind, Colorado would get shut down by UCLA in a loss, followed by Oregon State in another lousy defeat, a blown game to Arizona, and a blowout loss to Washington State. But that doesn't take away from what Colorado accomplished this season. Coach Prime stirred up excitement to a dying program and quadrupled their wins from last year. You'd expect that all of the 5-star athletes out there will want to play for Deion next year at Colorado. And who knows, maybe those 4 wins can turn into 8, then 10, and maybe a national championship. So they might have been fighting for clicks this year, but Deion Sanders is no doubt the real deal.